We are live.
Okay, yeah, my computer's always the last one. You see it live on yours because mine said it
Yes,
might
I
have timed
do.
out, but
I do.
let me
We're
double check.
live.
Okay, well, welcome to the ripple effect, everyone. I was supposed to let Erica lead off, but I'm going to let her lead off first with the guest because I have a couple things I wanted to say first. But first, I wanted to compliment you on that jacket, Erica. And I heard there's a bit of a story behind that, if you don't mind telling us.
My dear friend Rhoda and I, we went over to the Jacob Javits Center boutique apparel show back in before 2004 and way before 2004. And so this jacket is from that. And we worked our magic. We did like an Eddie Murphy heist to make sure I could get some of these cool pieces. And this is the remains. Everything else I've grown out of, but yeah, it's a good story, and I love the vibe.
Good. And I did want to lead off with our check-in stuff before we get to our guest about parenting and a parenting academy. Um, so I
The
know we have a guest who's standing by, but I heard, I just sent out my e-news yesterday and I was like, I need something new from Erica. So if you don't mind giving us an update on what you have coming up. You said there's some type of gather thing or
Yeah,
what
the
other
Gather
events you do?
community. I'm one of their creators. I'm a creator with the Gather community. That means I am speaking a bunch of times this year. So this coming Friday, 9 to 1 is the event, and it's $1. I have special VIP entrance, so make sure to hit me up for the special VIP entrance if you want to attend. But I'll be sure to add the info for our chat so people can register. And I am on at 11 a.m. Pacific time, apparently. And I'll be speaking about mental health and, signs of perhaps maybe needing a person or a friend or a loved one is needing some mental health support. And for these times, the statistics are such that like we are not in a shortage for mental health professionals for need. It's a matter of who's the right fit, and everybody has different expertise. So making sure you get that right fit is important. So I'll be speaking this Friday. I always love speaking with the Gather community, and thank you for asking me about that. And what do you have going on, David Kirsten?
Oh, I just wanted to add, I saw some startling stats the other day about the unhappiness out there and the fragglement. It's 75% of people aren't happy with kind of the way things are going with government and a lot of the stuff going on in the world. So, it was shocking to
Yeah.
me. So I
Yeah,
think
exactly. That is exactly why we got to get the word out. And, some people have never been in therapy, and some people, they've been in therapy their whole life. So like we have a big range, and, it could be seen as, oh, it's very hip to go to a therapist. And also it's like the best workshop in town. It's all about you. So, David, what you do as a videographer and all the things that you're creating for leaders to up their game, there is a quality of, first and foremost, the relationship and taking care of people. I know, Elisabeth, in the work you do as a parenting coach, it's first and foremost, the relationship. How is the relationships going? And you work with that a lot. So we can't wait to hear what's the latest with you, because I believe you've been on our show before.
I have.
Yeah.
I have no memory of what we talked about last time.
I bet we talked about something completely different than parenting. Not so. Oh, wait, before Elisabeth, we hear more from you. David, how are your little babies? How's the seedlings?
Oh, they're good. They keep growing. I actually haven't planted all of them, so I got to do some more of that today. But yeah,
Get them in.
I'll send you a picture, and I am going to enroll you in my master class. I'm giving it free to Power Partners. So I look forward to your feedback. If you don't see it today, it'll be tomorrow. So
I am a yes. I'm an instant yes. And David, I just was coaching somebody who has their tower garden getting growing over in Marin, and I said, with all this weather, why don't you just keep the tower indoors during this intense weather and just buy some windows, and then a week or so with a little bit of the nutrients covering it and the water covering the pump, you could get your tower growing inside, and it's a little more protected from all the weather going on.
Now, can I just stick in those little planter things just to those holes, or is there anything special I have to do?
I have to tell you about that. So there's two
Okay.
choices. You want to use the net pots or you want to use the tower clips. And if it's the microgreens, I forget if I gave you a microgreens section that you just stick in. You don't need the clips or the net pots for that. So
Okay.
I'll make
I
sure
might have
that
to give you a call later.
absolutely I'm available.
Okay, very good. And
I'm available. Let's grow
Well,
some food.
okay, good. Yeah, if folks, I got Erica loaned me a tower garden, which is really a space age type way to grow food and vegetables, because
Yes.
it can
I'm
grow
gonna-
up, so even
You
if
know,
you live in New
I
York or
find-
somewhere, yeah.
I find, David, that this is better therapy than therapy, and I'm a therapist. So like, I'm going to show you what it looks like, these little babies, before we have Elizabeth say everything she wants to say. But look at
Look at your babies.
my babies. Look at these guys. Look at these guys. They're coming up. They're coming up.
Erica's just a pro gardener. Look at that
It's
green
happening.
thumb
It's
she
happening.
has.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. So these are the beans. The beans are like whatever. They could go in the tower garden right now, but everybody else, it likes a little bit more TLC. So okay, let's get to our guest.
Yeah, very good. If you don't mind giving us a little testimonial, Erica, about how you know her. I heard actually she went on that cruise with you with the Bing Bing, Miss
Ding, ding, ding.
Katerina.
Ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding. So Elisabeth Stitt is my friend, my colleague. I got to be at her joyful family camp last summer it was so much fun. It was such a great experience. I got to really see you shine in your expertise and your coaching a family through hard stuff and tense things. And, run, don't walk, to learn more about what Elisabeth is up to specifically for teens, tweens, for coaching, for classes. Tell us all about what you got going on. I know you have a whole roster of things happening.
Well, thank you for the kind words. We did have so much fun at camp, and
She sang to me this morning.
I sang happy birthday. Yeah, I know. I mean, David, what are we gonna do for Erica's happy birthday today?
Oh, whatever. Moving on.
Moving on. No, definitely should be celebrating that.
She can come celebrate out at the trampoline park next week. Carrie has her 8th birthday if you like jumping.
Oh my
in
gosh,
with
that would be so
foam
much
hits,
fun there.
David has two daughters. One is a teen and one is an almost 8-year-old. And so what do you have that is in your arsenal for everybody tuning in today? That's a family, a parent pulling out their hair, stressed out with what's going on in their family dynamics.
Well, what I loved about camp was the way that it combined real skill building, especially around communication, with reminding families, like, what's fun about being a family? Like, let's go have some fun, people. We get so wrapped up in our agendas and our to-do lists that, we forget like, families are fun and we should be having fun with them. And we want to model for our kids that adulthood is fun, because so many kids look at us and they look at how hard we're working and how stressed we are. And it sucks motivation from them, because they look and they go like, you want me to do all this hard work to get into college in order to be that? Like, that is horrifying. And obviously, David, I know the fact that you do a podcast with Erika means that you are already more tapped into being a little zany, a little crazy, a little.
No, David is very serious all the time.
Keeping things light, but on the whole.
Yeah, you don't have to, for example, acquire that mom voice, that like super annoying voice. You can like choose not to be like,
Do you have a super annoying dad voice?
I do, but I kind of catch myself, and I think that's why the proper parenting techniques can help, because I think for me it's about lowering the amount of time to where if you're in that kind of fight or flight mode, because if they do something crazy, then you get upset, and so it is challenging.
Ain't that
To
the
It
say the
is
truth?
least. Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
And, it's challenging partly because we're busy, partly because they're busy, partly because it's just like a crazy world out there. And the things that these kids are seeing and being exposed to is super crazy.
Yeah,
And it's very hard as a parent to kind of keep them, safe from the craziness part. It's like, we want them to be realistic. We want them to be in the world, but boy, it would be great if we could do a little bubble wrapping around some of the really, really crazy stuff.
yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, it all comes back to communication, right? When we are worried about our kids, when they are on the roller coaster, every professional I speak to, whether I'm talking about cutting or body image or suicide or vaping or you name it, sexting and bullying and fear of predator,
Shootings.
it all comes down to having tons and tons and tons of communication and conversations with our kids. And I know it would be horrifying to think about talking to an 8-year-old about some of these real world things, but when we consider that pornography is 11 is the average age of being exposed to pornography, that's an average. That means you have to have people on either side of that, and you don't want the porn industry teaching your child about sex and sexuality. You want to be teaching them about those things, and about relationships and how they fit into the world, and how do we find that balance between caring about and connecting with others and thinking of the needs of the community, and also standing up for ourselves and being able to communicate what we want and need. Really, parents talking to their kids it's going to keep coming back to that.
Yeah,
So then we've got like our communication skills, our active listening and our I statements and things like that on the one hand. And then on the other hand, what are the structures and routines that we can put in place that kind of make that stuff happen when we're otherwise so crazy, when we're running our agenda, right? Like, David, I bet you seize moments when they present themselves to you. But I'm curious, do you have any like things, little traditions or rituals or regular dates with your kids that kind of guarantee that you're going to get some of that one-on-one slow down, let's just chew the fat kind of time with them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much with Carrie like all the time, except when, some,
the
yeah,
younger daughter.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then the older one, they don't necessarily want to be with you all the time. And she's kind of, I mean, she's 17 now, and she's a stepdaughter, so to speak, who lives with me. And she's fine. She's basically a young adult, and she has stuff that comes up. We have good communication. So, I probably do need to carve out some more time to do stuff with her. It's mostly picking her up between parties and stuff. And then I get the debrief, and, if a guy asked for a number or something about going to the dance yesterday. It was pretty funny. So, but,
Well, that's
yeah,
very cool. I mean, that
yeah.
says a lot about who
Yeah.
you are as a stepfather, that she shares all that with you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I think the real challenge is the younger one in this digital world, that they're almost living in that digital world so much, that how do you control that content and actually steer them in the way of
Well, okay, so that's a super
yeah,
great example, right? Because we're going to have a really hard time controlling the content. That's why we want to be talking about stuff proactively. We want to bring up kind of maybe hard, sticky topics. Like, have you ever had a conversation with her about good pictures and bad pictures on the internet?
yeah. I mean, she shows me stuff, and all these little funny little videos that, I mean, there's not I mean, some of that stuff is just, Yeah, it's not really n- wholesome. It's kind of like the equivalent of like McDonald's for content. If you're consuming that's too much of it, then you're going to have kind of bad habits about how you relate to people and how you talk about stuff, what's acceptable. So I do talk to her about that stuff, and I actually have her change the channel, or I block those channels, or I take her iPad away, for example.
Yeah. And they're kind of two thoughts I've got here. One is the at Stanford, I don't know if I've ever told you this, Erica, at Stanford in the 80s, they used to allow alcohol to be served at parties where there were minors, as long as the hosts were providing an equally attractive alternative, which was this big joke, because of course, instead of getting like, really good sparkling cider or the best root beer around, the equally attractive alternative was the sign that went over the water fountain. Like, yeah, you're either drinking or that's it. But I kind of like that term, equally attractive alternatives, because one of the ways in which we just reduce the influence of what they're seeing online is by being pretty proactive about equally attractive alternatives. And what adventure are we going to go on today? Or what are we going to do? And how can you get messy and get busy with your hands and plant Tina's in the flower garden. I hope she's been part of your growing adventure.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
he's
mean, she
witnessing.
loves doing all these different stuff. I mean, she's a real baker. She actually finds stuff, and we make stuff online. I get her involved in the baking. Of course, she loves to bake cookies and cook other stuff. Now her new thing was I got her a Hello Kitty thermos, so now she can have hot food at school, and she's all excited about that. So she kind of helps make the lunch. But the more I can just include her and stuff, the better. And I mean, every like 3 or 4 months or 6 months, I have this aha moment about how much smarter and more advanced she's getting about how she talks about stuff. So it's always like taking them every day is like they're kind of a different person every day almost, because they're just evolving and growing so quickly. Yeah.
I love all that. That is so awesome. And at the same time, David, I would just nudge you just a little bit to think about what are some of those more formal conversations that I have to begin to have, even though she's 8, because 10 is the new 13, and 8 is the new 11, and 11-year-olds, 11-year-olds are thinking and seeing about stuff that we wouldn't think that an 8-year-old is thinking about. And so, it might be worthwhile for you to think like, if I'm not going to weave that in alongside all the other stuff I'm weaving, what kind of structure might I put in place? I mean, it could just be a dad-daughter date. And yeah, I know she's with you all the time, but when you put it on the calendar and you call it a dad-daughter date, and you say, yeah, you're growing up, and we're going to talk about issues of you growing up on our monthly dad-daughter dates, then you have a structure to support your intention, rather than just trusting that you're going to make use of those teachable moments.
Yes. And I really have used some of your tools, Elizabeth, that you shared with me for like a kind of scaffolding or outline of family meeting, like kind of you're talking about like a deliberate family conversation, whatever the family constellation is. And that I've sent that off to clients who have kiddos. I've sent it off to clients whose kiddos are causing them to feel stressed out. And it's such good work, like to have a form to fill with your family, a form to fill, to move through issues and process them. And then this is going to be tabled. And now we'll get to this next time, and we'll just keep chipping away at it. What were you going to say, David?
Well, I guess I have a question about, apart from the putting out fires, but so to speak, I love this issue of being proactive, but what would you say those conversations are? At what age should you have them? And then how should you have them? How would you recommend? And I know there's a lot to that question, but
Yeah.
maybe,
So
for example, the internet content, or maybe it is about dating, and she says, "Oh, are you mad that I'm dating this guy or something?" Because she sees it online, and she feels like her relationship is something that she hears about, for example.
you're talking the 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we could always ask the question, and then we can always, I call it the +1 rule. So if you ask about something, if you could say something like, so dating is a part of growing up and being a teenager, and you're not there yet, but what do you think about dating? Or what do you know about it? Or what is it? And that's a good way for sex too. Like,
Yeah, that's
you
a
know
good-
that word sex, right? Well, what do you know about that word? What does that mean to you? And that's going to give you the level where she is, right? And it might be, it's how babies are born. In which case your +1 might be, first of all, yes, you're right, that it's through sex that babies get born. And sex also happens when people aren't trying to have babies be born. Did you know that? No, I didn't know it. And then I would probably just say something like, it's actually a really cool part of being a grown-up. And if you ever have any questions about what it is, I'd be happy to answer them. So we're introducing it. First of all, we're introducing it as a cool, good thing. And then we're introducing it as something that you are more than happy to talk about. Erika, what did this mean?
Oh, it's like opening the door so that it's a safe topic to talk about, like bringing availability to it all. Like for me, I got to watch sex education with my older niece, and they wanted that. They asked for it, and I was like, absolutely. And it was so like just relaxed and easy, and so it was a good thing. It was opening the door for other kinds of conversations that they may or may not want to have as a 19-year-old. And then the younger one at 15, they may or may not want to have the conversations. And
yeah,
it's opening the door. How do we open up the door for the awful terribles?
And the one concrete conversation, the awful terrible conversation I would have would be, about pornography. And one way that we can phrase that is good pictures and bad pictures. And good pictures are pictures that make you feel good, and bad pictures are pictures that make you feel uncomfortable. And it could be because of violence, and it could be because of sexuality, or worse, it could be violent sexuality. And all you need to say there, David, would be, if you come across those pictures, you just need to let mommy and me know, because they're not meant for kids. And it's really important that we are able to talk through it with you. You'll never be in trouble. There's nothing that you can say that you've seen that will make you be in trouble. And it really is important. Have you ever seen any pictures like that? Pictures that make you feel uncomfortable and that maybe you think should have been kept secret? Those are the kinds of pictures that we actually really need to hear about.
Yeah, no, that's good. You've already given me a lot of food for thought about it, is having that conversation in your mind before you talk to them. I also think it's critical when you talk to them that, maybe not right when they get home from school, but when they're in a little bit more contemplative mood, because a lot of the time she's kind of jumping off the walls, so to speak, that's not the time. But
well,
to be deliberate about it. I do like that. Also, the car, maybe if you're going on, maybe I'm taking her to San Francisco to plan to have one of those conversations, maybe in the car, or maybe in the park or something on the way back or something.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm on my hallway. Well, and I'm just going to say that one of the nice things sometimes about putting it on the calendar and giving it a name is that it puts a little framework around it. And this can be reassuring to the child and to you, because it's going to be like time limited. And so the child doesn't feel like I'm being lectured at, and the parent doesn't feel like, what if I haven't thought through what to say? Because it kind of gives you this chance to go like, well, that's a really great question, and we can talk about that at our next dad-daughter date. And then that gives you time to go away and to say, Erika, let's practice this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody gets to practice everything. Like, it's always okay to be a mess and sloppy, and then you can always clean things up with these kind of topics. Like, it's so important to make room for those big topics and questions, and to be like, yeah, well, if we don't know the answer, we're going to figure it out. We have the internet, of all things. We have those old-fashioned books that may or may not be able to answer those questions. And yeah, so what do you have coming up? If you have, like, I know I've seen on your Instagram posts all these classes and workshops coming up. I
always have a bunch of stuff coming up. Definitely should mention Joyful Family Camp, because I hope Erika is going to come again and be my assistant. And right now that's scheduled June 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And if you have a really 10 to 14 is like the sweet spot, because it's where we've got enough, like enough ability to focus and to learn alongside parents. But we want to get them as soon as possible. We want to establish those good communication links. And
we also have this workshop that I think is brilliant called Best Summer Ever.
Yeah, I'll start giving in April. And that one is really about, a lot of parents have anxiety about when, we have a certain structure during the school year, and that keeps us moving forward in a certain way. And maybe it cuts down on like a lot of the, I want my iPad arguments, just because we've got so much other stuff going on in life. And then it's summer, and we want to find this balance of, it's summer. We want water fights and watermelon and ice cream cones and staying up late and all that fun that we associate with summer. And at the same time, as parents, it can drive us nuts, because our kids have this image of what summer should be, which probably is stay in our pajamas all day, be on our devices all day, cook a lot of stuff in the kitchen and not clean it up. And it should probably have a lot of butter and sugar and salt and fat. And then stay up all night.
Yeah, I'll just say that I feel like I've turned over a new leaf, and that I actually bring Carrie to a lot of my events because she's old enough now where people like to visit with her. And I'm not there the whole time. If I was like trying to really network seriously, maybe I don't always bring her, depending on what it is. But people like talking to her. She's such a kind of a social wizard, I'd say, in a lot of ways, that it actually helps me network a little bit too, because she's so really congenial. She's good with other kids, but she's also good with adults too. Yeah.
Love it. I love it. So yeah.
Good. Well, I really hope that if you're tuning into this and you have just met Elisabeth for the first or second or third time, check out her amazing content, her amazing expertise, her workshops, her classes, her coaching, her Joyful Family Camp. It was such a great highlight of my summer last summer. And thank you. It was so inspiring to me to be part of the process. And so I can't wait to go. I hope it rolls and we have a full docket of humans coming to play with us.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I love family camp. They actually have a great family camp over here in Sonoma in the woods. I don't know where you guys went, but it's always one of my fondest memories, family camp. Although my least fondest memory is actually me going without the family to one of those camps. But
Oh, you got switched off. Oh no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, you get kind of lonely. It's hard to be by yourself sometimes if you're growing up like that.
Oh, David. Zoom
Anyway.
hug, Zoom hug.
We would have been your friends at camp. You would have hung out with us. That would have been great.
That's part of growing up too, though, to be on your own at camp. Yeah.
One of my best memories of family camp, can I just share, was the first dinner where we met the family that was a part of the process, and the teenager, it was like from The Incredibles. The teenager had their hair in their eyes, and they were like looking across at me like, who the hell are you? And I was like, I was so goofy. I was like, I'm here to play. And it was just like, after that, there was a kind of melting and a sense of humor. And it was just really, I tear up at the thought of getting to be my playful, goofy.
Oh my gosh.
supportive
And she loved that model. I mean, she just was like, here's an adult who's like fun and playful and zany.
Yeah. And it was really cool to bring that sense of humor to, some serious discussions. I got to be like helping with the timing of different exercises at Joyful Family Camp. And the teenager that was with us was like, I was like, this could go on and on and on, and we don't want that. So remember, when I go like this, you go like this. And she got really into it. It was so funny. It was making me crack up. I was like,
And that's another pro tip is, if you're having a hard conversation, literally put the timer on, because it makes it safe, because the kid knows there's an exit and there's an exit, and you can always come back and have another conversation. But it means that for this little conversation right now, all I have to do is stay present with this uncomfortable topic for 4 minutes.
Yeah. And 4 minutes goes quickly. So I so appreciate you hopping on with us last minute and telling us what you got going on. And Elisabeth, you are a joy, and you serve and you serve and you serve. And every parent who's pulling out the hair, who's not pulling out the hair, they need to know you and meet you. You have a Facebook group of how many mamas?
Oh, I mean, it's around 7,000.
7,000 mamas. It's called, what was that?
Middle School Moms Facebook group. It's not a very sexy title.
Middle School Moms Facebook group. And can dads be part of it?
Yes, dads can absolutely be a part of it, even though dads are not alliterative.
And all other people that might not identify as a mom or a dad, they can be part of it. They just have to have kiddos of some
If
kind.
they have kiddos at home. So I have grandparents, I've got, aunts and uncles who have adopted kids.
I'm an aunt, and I'm a part of this group.
Yes. I do, as people come into the group, I do kind of question who they are, because I want to make sure that it's people who are actively involved with kids in their lives.
Absolutely. I think that's great. And Elisabeth, you just are a joy to be in my life. And, I appreciate you. And David, you're a joy to be in my life. And the ripple effect is a gem. It's an underutilized gem. So we want to make sure that if you're tuning in, if you could share this, like it, share it with a family person that needs support. Like, this is all about support. So let's make sure we get this word out there about the great work you're both doing. And everybody gets to grow.
Yeah, very good. I'll just make one closing comment that I think part of why I do what I do with Quantum Leap and this show too is I think the challenges of being a parent is that you actually need to construct a life that allows you to be a parent. Like if you're working, if I couldn't be the parent that I am if I was working 9 to 5, like if I was going down to Cupertino to work at Apple, there's no way I could be a good parent. So I really think that number one is putting that life together that allows you to be a good parent, and the rest of it is a lot easier, when you have that. So I'm fortunate to have had that right now. There's always challenges that come up, and how do you keep that? And but well, I will put the links to your programs and how to get in touch with you. And thanks for coming on for some real talk on parenting.
Thank you.
Well, Erika and I are going to sign off. We're done ripple effecting for now. So
right.
Thanks, Erika, and everyone for joining us. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in.